All right, welcome to Two Way. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching on YouTube or here on our platform. Glad to have you here. I don't like to keep doing resets, but there's lots of new people joining, and there's lots of people who are sending me messages. So I want to clarify some things. This is a platform for everybody. You may see people on here you don't agree with. That's the point. There aren't a lot of platforms in America that have civil discussions, sophisticated, we hope, long, and intended to let everybody learn from each other, all voices. It's not about shouting or criticizing or insulting. It's about learning. And we're really proud of what we've accomplished already in creating this kind of forum. I am for America. I'm for two-way. I'm not cheering for either candidate to win, and I never will. And those of you who see me say Kamala Harris is doing pretty well right now, it's not because I'm cheering for her. It's my reporting and my analysis of where the race stands. If you think I'm biased for the Democrats, you might wonder why I give people like Alex Castellanos and Newt Gingrich a chance to talk. And if you think I'm biased for the Republicans, you might wonder why we spent a lot of time the last few nights talking to folks who are really angry at JD Vance and Donald Trump. This is a platform for everybody. And my posture is, and all of us at Two-Way, our posture is, we want to hear from everybody. And if one candidate's doing better for a time, we'll talk about that. Doesn't mean I'm cheering for them. I hope that's clear. Please stop sending me emails if you can, accusing me of favoring one candidate or the other, because I'm really not. I'm for America. Now, Alex Castellanos, who's back with us, very grateful to Alex, thinks this is the high point of the Harris campaign, that it's going to be all downhill from here. There are lots of people on this call and in my sources and in America who think Kamala Harris is rising like a rocket ship and that she's going to continue to do better and better. Not that every day will be as good as the last few days have been. I don't know what the answer to that is, but we're going to see. Why have we been focused on Kamala Harris and on JD Vance? Because my sense is from talking to people around the country throughout the day, that's where the story is right now. What Kamala Harris is doing. Donald Trump spent a half an hour on the phone with Fox and Friends today, but otherwise didn't do much. Kamala Harris did a lot today, and we'll talk about that to start. Again, I don't know who's going to win. I do know my friend John Podhoretz tweeted, either candidate can win the race, and then he said, but nothing's changed. Well, to me, John, with all due respect to John, something big has changed. I don't believe Joe Biden had much of a chance to win the election. Democrats magically, in the space of just a few days, swapped in a whole new candidate, and she's now got a pretty good chance to win. And you can see it in the reaction to Republicans. And this JD Vance thing, I may have an inflated sense of how big a deal it is, maybe. But from talking to Republican men and women, and one of whom we had, or a few of whom we had on the morning meeting, it's pretty clear to me that some Republican women and men are really bothered by this. Is it thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions? I don't know. But it's not an insignificant number. So let's run through some stuff. The New York Times poll. All right, lots of polls, national polls. There's some battleground state polls too. Put up the Times poll. They're tied. You know, the way margin of error works, I think it's silly when people say, well, Trump's ahead. He's really not ahead. They're tied. And it's an improvement on the standing of the Democratic candidate from where President Biden was. The public and private battleground state polls, same thing. You can't look at the battleground state polls that have come out and the ones that I've seen and say anything but Kamala Harris has a chance to win an election that Joe Biden didn't, pretty much. That's a major change in this race. Now, today, she has no path to 270 electoral votes, none. But it's not today. And the goal of the Harris campaign is to have a great VP pick, a great convention, and head into Labor Day with a clear, not just one electoral path, but multiple. I can't tell you which of the 7 states they'll decide they can compete in on Labor Day. It may be all 7. It may be something well short of all 7. But they'll make a choice to compete in at least 3 of them, because they'll need at least 3 of them to win the election. But we have to wait. These polls now are snapshot, obviously, and they play a role in enthusiasm and confidence on the Democratic side in the way they're trending now. And remember, it was widely said that any Democrat besides Joe Biden, if you put him on the ballot, they're going to show an equal race because it's a 50-50 country and Trump is a flawed candidate. Some people said, including Joe Biden and people around to Barack Obama, the only exception to that was Kamala Harris, that she would do worse or as bad as Joe Biden. So far, that's not the case. Maybe it will be. Maybe they'll find a way to eliminate her as a San Francisco radical. I'm not dismissing the role that inflation and immigration and America's role around the world and Donald Trump's issue advantage on a lot of issues, which he has in the Times poll, even as the race is tied. I'm not dismissing those things. They're big factors in this race. But people should not dismiss, we're trying to figure out where this is, the role that reproductive freedom will play, the role that having a young candidate versus an old candidate will play, and the role of some of the other issues that the vice president is bringing forward right now. So I want to show you in full a video that probably a lot of you have seen. This is the video the campaign put out. It's not an ad. It's just a video to get the kind of coverage we're about to give it. And I want you to just, there's tons of stuff embedded in this imagery and things that I think are super interesting. But I want you to just imagine if you asked Donald Trump or Joe Biden to star in such a video for their campaign, imagine the campaign trying to pull it off. And that includes getting Beyoncé to give permission to use it. So go ahead and play the video. Please.
In this election, we each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? There are some people who think we should be a country of chaos, of fear, of hate. But us, we choose something different. We choose freedom.
Freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose. Yeah. Freedom, freedom, where are you? 'Cause I need freedom too.
The freedom not just to get by, but get ahead. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom to make decisions about your own body. We choose a future where no child lives in poverty, where we can all afford health care, where no one is above the law. We believe in the promise of America, and we're ready to fight for it. Because when we fight, we win. So join us. Go to KamalaHarris.com and let's get to work.
I'ma keep on running 'cause the winner don't quit on themselves.
All right, folks. Just as I said, the Republican convention was unambiguously well executed, regardless of what you thought of the ideology or anything else. That is a great video. And this contrast of old versus young, new versus old is a real thing. It may not carry her to victory, but anybody who understands anything about not just America and not just about the view of Donald Trump, but about the mood of the world right now, he's the incumbent and she's the challenger. Now, he's going to say she's the incumbent because she's in the administration, but young versus old, as Rick Perry would say, the Biden campaign, or Harris campaign rather, showing a lot of chutzpah. A week ago, they said age equals wisdom. Now they say age equals dinosaur. I'll repeat what I've said for the last few nights. The disparity in the media's attitude towards the two campaigns continues to be massive. It's not just traditional liberal media bias and anti-Trump bias. There's a rapture over the vice president that is giving her campaign an enormous edge. And if you look at the pieces about her, they're not investigative pieces, right? They're glowing profiles. She likes restaurants. You know, she's rehabilitating her image with the California Democrats. I mean, she's getting billions of dollars in favorable coverage. And the first day that stops, I'll be curious, but it's not stopping. It doesn't appear to be stopping anytime soon. Big advantage. Okay. She went into teachers union today, and as predicted, it was all pandering to the teachers union. There was no Glenn Youngkin moment. But I want you to see a statement she put out that some of you probably have seen, but probably most of you haven't. This statement she put out in response to the rioting that took place on Capitol Hill yesterday, pegged to Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech. Okay. This statement is, I may be wrong. I read pretty much every press release from her office. I don't remember her ever putting out a statement like this. Basically, she's denouncing the protesters in a way that is, you know, it's perfectly sensible. And it's the kind of thing, you know, maybe she should have been doing before, but she condemns flag burning. She condemns the graffiti and rhetoric. She says it's abhorrent. We must not tolerate it as a nation. Okay. The fact that she put this out, and they put it out relatively quickly, it took them a day. But if you look at the history of Kamala Harris, when she's faced a difficult tightrope walk, what is the base going to think? What's the center going to think? It usually causes the paralysis of analysis. So I'm super impressed that she and her office put this out. And I'm super impressed, again, for those who believe, as many of my sources do, in both parties, that our only path to victory is to have more moderate, symbolically moderate positions break from the administration. I didn't see Joe Biden put a statement out like this. Maybe he did and I missed it. But to me, this is a small example, but a significant one of what might be to come. Okay. Now, JD Vance, the campaign, the Trump campaign is not, as far as I know, despite what Sean Spicer said in the morning meeting, they've not put him out for an interview to try to explain and I would say probably apologize. All the people who told Donald Trump not to pick him, to not listen to Don Jr. and Tucker and pick him, they're all feeling angry and annoyed and a little bit of I told you so, because none of this is a surprise. Not just what he said archivally, but the fact that he's not come out and addressed it. And I've heard from some people today, including some of you, who've minimized what's going on in reaction to this. Who cares what Jennifer Aniston thinks? This is isolated. It's really not. I can tell you it's really not. Now, again, I don't know how big it is, but I can tell you it's big. And I can tell you that it's not Democrats or the media or a few Republicans. It's a lot of people. And it's a lot of people who are emotional about it. And I don't mean emotional in a negative way. I mean it in a positive way. They're outraged. And I've had serious people say to me, Republicans say to me, they have to get Vance off the ticket. You know, if Biden can get off the ticket, even though Vance has already been nominated, get him off the ticket. I watched Trump's rally last night. I may have said this yesterday. I thought his invocations of his running mate's name were pretty tepid. And I'll tell you something, as a student of Donald Trump, he hates bad press. He hates when a decision of his gets bad press. And he hates when it gets bad press because someone else is kicking up the problem. And if Kamala Harris picks a great running mate and people start to say, Trump blew his pick and Harris aced hers, I guarantee you, he will not be inclined to say, ooh, I made a mistake. He'll be inclined to blame his running mate. And he will say that to people on the patio at Mar-a-Lago, and he'll say it to donors, and it'll come out, and that'll be, compound the problem they have. I still believe Vance has to give an interview to a female journalist and explain this and probably apologize, or it will not stop. And the ability of the Harris campaign has to link this to the 2025 project, the ability that they have to start doing targeted ads on social media about it. It's I don't want to overstate it, but I don't think I am when I say that this is a big problem for them to deal with it. And I can tell you about scores of communications I've had with people today, very similar to what we've heard here from folks about how seriously people are reacting to this. In terms of the Harris sweepstakes, I haven't spent a ton of time on it because I don't really care about breaking this when I have too much else going on. But it does appear, as I said yesterday, that the vetters are concerned about some of the so-called leading candidates. As those of you who've been here before know, I've been very bullish on should pick and will pick Kelly. I'd say now, if you were going to Ladbrokes with a fiver, put it on Governor Shapiro rather than Kelly for a variety of reasons. And Gabby Giffords was in Philadelphia today campaigning. At this point, I still wouldn't be surprised if it were Kelly, but I think I'd look at Shapiro number one, Mystery number two, and Mystery could be Pete Buttigieg or somebody else, and Kelly dropping to three. So for those of you who think I know what's going on and care what I think, that's a seismic change. I've basically been Kelly all the way, and now I've dropped him to three. Kind of random, but that's what I've done. Going to open it up now. There's a bunch of people I want to call on that I definitely want to hear from. But please, if you want to get in the conversation, raise your hand and ask a question, make a comment, and we can talk about the things I raised, or we can talk about anything you would like to talk about. Don't ask about the Olympics because I've not read in. I'm going to see if I can get Eleanor to come in, just because I'm delighted that you're back. Eleanor, do you mind coming in? Turn on your camera. Let's see. There's our cameras on. Unmute. We're going to spotlight you. Ladies and gentlemen, thrill of the night for me. Eleanor Cliff joins us. Eleanor, tell me what you think of the JD Vance thing. I'm super curious if you think this is a big deal or not.
Oh, I think it exposes his retro attitudes about women and his extremely judgmental views of other people. I have some sympathy for him. It's based on his background. mean, this one thing that people should stay in abusive marriages is based on his grandmother and his grandfather who fought all the time. And in his book, he recounts the grandmother putting lighter fluid on the grandfather because he had come home drunk again and she'd threatened to set him on fire, which she didn't do. But he witnessed all this, and yet they stayed together, and he got some, whatever stability he had in his life. So, we all are the creatures of our early experiences. So I think when you look at some of the things he says and put them in a bigger context, they're kind of understandable. But he can't survive with those attitudes in the world of headlines and social media. And the whole cat lady business, I take personally. When I was 5 years old, the woman who took care of me, an old German woman named Mary Deller, she told me I was going to be an old maid because I liked cats too much. So I figured now I've had 2 marriages and I've been divorced, I've been widowed, and I have 2 cats, and I'm proud of it. So, but the way it's a smear to women that a lot of people can relate to. Now, I think it's deadly for him, but they can't get him off the ticket. I mean, that's even worse that they're even talking about that. I mean, they are undermining him. He's only been out of the gate for a few days. So yeah, I agree. I think it is hurt.
I want to bring some other folks. Thank you for that. I want to bring some other folks in on the Vance thing. But first, I want to ask you, if you were to outline an article saying that the thesis of which was things look pretty good for Harris in the last, since she got in, but here are the minefields ahead, what would you include on that list?
Oh, I hearken back to when she entered the race in 2020, and she had this big rally in California. And I just remember being amazed that she was able to carry a crowd that big. I mean, it's not easy, and you don't see a lot of women who can do it. And then she kind of cratered in her campaign. I'm wondering if she can sustain this level of performance. I think that's going to be hard. Secondly, I think the navigating, moving to the right, embracing those positions is tricky. And so far, I mean, I think she's handled the Netanyahu thing well, and that gives her a chance to open up some daylight between herself and Biden, and that helps in Michigan. So immigration, she hasn't gone near yet, but the minefields are the issues and the characterization of the issues, and so therefore she carries all the baggage that Biden had. So I mean, I think she's performed incredibly well, and mostly because she seems at home with it. I mean, it seems like what she's doing is easy, and it's not. So I don't
Eleanor,
have any criticism yet.
Okay, stay with us. So I brought in Jessica. We always love when Jessica's here because she speaks for all of us. And Lauren, my two-way colleague, Lauren Leader, and Pete. And Pete, I brought in specifically because Pete thinks that the Vance thing is vastly overstated. So what I'm going to turn it over to Pete to explain why he thinks I'm wrong about this. And then if you're a woman and you agree with Pete, if you're a woman and you agree with Pete that this is not a big deal, not that it shouldn't be a big deal, but that you don't think it is, I'd love for you to raise your hand, and I'd love to bring you in to join the discussion, because I don't want to turn this into a man versus woman thing, because it doesn't need to be. So Pete, floor is yours. Explain why you think I've overstated it and others have overstated it.
My position is not that the merits of what Vance said or didn't say. It was that I don't see how the comments from the vice presidential candidate are going to affect the top of the ticket. It's sort of axiomatic that the people vote for the top of the ticket. Everyone thinks Trump's already as evil as you could possibly get. Everybody thinks Trump's the worst misogynist in the entire world. So I don't know how anything his number 2 could say would turn someone away. My point is, how could someone who's lived through Access Hollywood, who's lived through all the other issues with Trump, get to this point in time and say, you know what, that's it, that's the final straw, I'm dumping Trump? I just don't see that people making that kind of connection.
All right, Lauren.
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to say hello to Eleanor Clift, because Eleanor's son, Robert, was one of my best friends in the 6th grade at Lafayette Elementary School, little Washington D.C. moment here. And I love Eleanor, and it's so wonderful to see you. And Mark and I talk all the time about that neighborhood in DC because his dad lives there now. Anyway, so Eleanor.
Okay.
So, I mean, look, all right, fine. You know, maybe this was not changing things with a lot of like persuadables, but let me just say, the vastness of the rage around this far exceeds the relevance of Vance as a vice presidential candidate. Meaning this is such a uniting point of rage for women across the spectrum, because essentially he has kicked millions and millions of women in the teeth. Because, you know, you have to remember, yes, there are women who are childless by choice. There are also millions of women who are childless not by choice because of horrific fertility issues, which affect people no matter what party they're in. And part of why I think it is especially salient is because it also undermines that one of the factors facing women today is that there are women who've been rendered infertile because they were denied abortion care in the process of a miscarriage in states that have banned it and now cannot have children. And so it just simply serves to reinforce how insanely out of touch Trump is on women. And by the way, the irony of it is that in the convention, right, at the RNC, the Republicans basically didn't touch abortion access with the 10-foot pole. It did not come up. They barely spoke about it. They did not want to talk about anything related to the pro-life movement or to any of the agenda that has dominated for 50 years. And the reason is because it's so radioactive. So at a point when Trump is trying to move away from what has made him repellent to a pretty wide cross-section of women that he needs to win, including suburban women, you know, swing voters, some that like lean right, et cetera. Vance just reminded every woman in America of where the Trump campaign is and what the potential future is if there's a Project 2025. So that's why it's so big. It's not just because it's not about the persuadables or the unpersuadables. It's that he turned the conversation nationally back to something that Trump doesn't want to talk about because it's radioactive for their campaign.
All right, Lauren, thank you. So Molly, I see you nodding. You're in the Lauren school, not the Pete school. Is that correct?
Yes, that's exactly right.
All right, hold on, Molly, 1 second. Sherry Annis, who's I don't know, Sherry, are you still a Republican or are you an independent now?
I'm still registered Republican. I'm actually going to vote for Trump for the very first time. I've voted third party.
All right, that's a big deal. What do you think? Molly, we'll get to you in a second. What do you think, Sherry, about this Vance thing?
So having read Hillbilly Elegy when it first came out, I think that Vance should use his wife to help him out here. She sounds brilliant. In his book, he makes her sound like an extremely supportive wife who's whip smart. And they are a team, and she needs to support him and show how pro-woman he is. And I think that would do a lot of that would benefit him greatly if he comes out as a couple and she's not the Tammy Wynette. Yeah. She's extremely accomplished on her own.
Right. And you're a communications professional, so that's your judgment about how to handle it. What's your sense from your community about how inflamed women are about this, and men?
They are inflamed. I tend to not hang around other Republicans. Most of my friends are not Republicans. So they are annoyed with him, and they are a little concerned with him, and they tend to be pro-choice, as am I actually. So they don't understand why he is doing this. My feeling is I know this type of person and I'm not offended, and I assume it was a joke. And so personally, I don't care, but I'm not the one he has to worry about.
Okay. Molly and then Joe, please.
Yeah. Hi, Mark. One of the things I'd like to add too is not just what JD Vance said, but on whose show he said it. He didn't just make an off-the-cuff statement. He sat with Tucker Carlson, who is well-liked by a lot of people, but equally not well-liked by many of us. So I think the venue of the interview had a lot to do with it also. The other thing that puzzles me is, and I don't want to get off topic, but JD Vance was one of Trump's hugest critics, all the way up to 2021. So I don't know if he's really genuine or not. Is he an opportunist versus someone who is really in the Trump camp? Just some food for thought. But my friends are inflamed, and I am too.
All right, Molly, thank you. Joe, go ahead.
I think Pete historically, Pete's position is usually correct regarding vice presidential candidates. We can, a lot of us can remember, I guess some of us can remember 1988 and Dan Quayle, and that was disastrous, and that was going to be the end of George H.W. Bush, and he was down 17 points. They ended up winning comfortably over Michael Dukakis in 88. I think the biggest problem here is that Donald Trump, who knows his base and knows what he needs to win, has been trying to moderate on abortion for some time. I mean, you can go back to him warning Republicans about Roe being overturned. You could hear even that again. He'll brag about it in front of certain audiences, but he's always tried to trim the sails. He blamed pro-lifers for losing in 2022. That it's one of the reasons why Democrats fared poorly. So I think the damage here comes really internally in the campaign. One, because you're right about Donald Trump. He hates bad press. He especially hates when other people's bad press casts a shadow on him. He has most of all, he has zero tolerance for that.
Yeah. And
so I guarantee you that not based on reporting, but just based on
knowing your Donnie.
Knowing him in the past, I guarantee you that these are not happy days for JD Vance. So I think the bigger problem is internally what's happening inside the campaign, the space it puts Donald Trump in, and also just the fact that this is going to be a turnout election. We're not a 50-50 nation. We're a 46-46 nation now, 47-47 nation, and it's about turnout. So if there are more women who are more energized, and Mark, I agree with you about the energy that I'm hearing from Democrats, and I'm hearing from people who just aren't engaged in politics saying, I'm trying to give $20, every day.
And Joe, to that point, someone's put that in the chat. It's true. Even if you don't think, as Pete does it's going to not change any votes, it's going to get Harris more contributions.
It's going to get him more contributions. It's going to energize the base. It is going to have an impact on women. And I will only say one comment I do want to say, Mark, you were talking about the press giving Kamala Harris a free pass. I will say your newsletter this morning quoted the Wall Street Journal editorial page, Dan Henninger, and Karl Rove, and talking about how Kamala Harris has shaken this race up and Donald Trump is getting in his own way. And the JD Vance election was, again, I never understood it. And I think most people here didn't understand it because it seems that it just doubled down on the things that swing voters in the states that matter don't like about Donald Trump. And these comments that are coming out now just reinforces that.
I want to get off Vance for a little bit and have you three talk about a related topic. But when we open up to more questions, if people want to talk more about Vance, we can. I will just say I was so struck from my time in Wisconsin and Milwaukee from Saturday to Monday before the announcement was made, how many very senior Trump people, donors and operatives and others said to me, he can't possibly pick Vance. He can't possibly for the exact related to this exact thing. And I've never seen that on the eve of a Veep Stakes announcement. I've never seen senior people trash one of the candidates the way they did. And now many of those same people are saying to me, I told you this would be a mistake. All right, here's the topic I want to talk about. I referenced it earlier. Alex is still, I believe, standing by his position that these are the best of times for Harris for president. And it's going to be all downhill from here. And I know, Joe, and I suspect from what Eleanor said, Eleanor doesn't agree. So Alex, you're used to defending yourself 2-on-1 when you're on cable news, because that's what that's all about for Republicans. So Alex, make the case for where you stand now that this is her best moment, and then I'd love for Joe and Eleanor to colloquy with you in a friendly fashion about why they disagree.
Be happy to provide something to disagree with, just like being at home. I think she's had a terrific announcement. I think she's more than met the moment. Good disciplined teleprompter speeches. I think she's energized a Democratic Party that was flat on its back, especially young people. It's a wonderful honeymoon. At the end of the day, though, she is, I'd say, more fully defined than we might think for someone just bursting onto the national scene like this. And it's because of the third force in campaigns. She's not going to be defined only by what her campaign says and does now. Though that's important. She's not only going to be defined by Trump and his campaign, though that will be powerful. She lives in a world where there's a third force that overwhelms both of those. And that is the internet and social media, where her entire life's journey lives forever and characterize her as a woman of the left and of the extreme left. And someone who raises doubts about her capacity to deal with serious global and national problems. We haven't had that before to this extent. She is already painted out there and is one of the least popular vice presidents in history. They know a lot about Kamala Harris in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin, and culturally and politically, defund the police, bail money. It's all of these issues are already there. Right now, she is hope without the inconvenience of history to some degree. But when the spotlight starts moving back to, she's going to have to disown who she has been on the internet and what she has supported. In her own words, her own visage. I don't think there's anywhere to go but down for her here. And if she chooses to throw out an agenda that meets the demands of the political culture, if she chooses to go more to the right, then she's going to reinforce doubts about her authenticity and credibility. She's in a tough spot. I think Newt Gingrich was right. She could become the new McGovern. And that's not a problem just for her. I mean, look at the spots already running in Pennsylvania. Look at the spots that candidates are going to run. That's not a problem just for her. The entire Democratic Party sees that. Hakeem Jeffries today, saying these protests are unacceptable. Gavin Newsom cleaning up the homeless. The whole Democratic Party has to move that way, but she's on video for who she is. And then there's the story that Democrats themselves have expressed these doubts about her and her capacity. They weren't saying what they're saying now a while ago. So I think this is peak Kamala. Okay. Might still be, by the way, a very close race with Donald Trump. I can get that because Trump doesn't need an opponent. He's running against himself, and he could beat himself. So I'm not saying this thing is over by any means, but it could break against her in a big and powerful way.
Mark, I see Megan here, and it's great that she's here, because what Alex was saying is what we Republicans were saying. I'm not saying you were saying this, Megan, but in 2008, oh my gosh, Barack Obama. He is the third most liberal senator in the United States Senate. He's taken all these extreme left-wing positions, and he was able to. I'm not saying that Kamala Harris is agile politically as Barack Obama proved to be in 2008. First of all, it's way too early. But secondly, we'll see what happens. It just didn't matter in 2008 to the electorate where he was or how he was. I think the biggest question, Mark, is whether, as Alex said, your whole life follows you around now on social media in 2024, perhaps in a way it didn't in 2008. But we all remember the Bill Ayers stuff. We all remember the Reverend Wright stuff. And a lot of us Republicans thought that in 2008, that was going to be disqualifying. And people just didn't care because it was about hope and change. And I will say, I don't know about the rest of you all, I will say this is the most excited I have seen the Democratic Party since 2008. A lot of that just may be relief that Joe Biden is off the ticket and they have somebody much younger. But the Democrats have not been this excited. And it's at the beginning. We don't know what's going to happen. And I agree with Eleanor so much. I remember Kamala Harris's first speech in 2020. I go, oh my God, she can actually fill a big stage. This is a contender. And then she just sort of disappeared. So I think it's way too early to tell, but I have been surprised as a conservative time and time again that Americans are just not as ideological as people like I have been.
Yeah. Megan and then Eleanor, and then we're going to open it back up. Sorry, Megan, unmute, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you just want me to thank you for those nice words, Joe? I mean, look, I've been texting you about this JD stuff. I woke up to the Jennifer Aniston statement, and I've been trying to tell people in conservative politics that Jennifer Aniston is not just a celebrity. She's a celebrity that doesn't talk about politics, who's had her career maligned because she doesn't have children. I talked on your other 2A that conservative women in my life, and the vast majority of my friends that are women are conservative, and my family members are conservative women. And this is really hitting a nerve because there's already this paranoia that the trend in conservatism is leaning towards this like really radical social conservatism that goes into trad wives, which is this trend of women having a ton of babies, not working at all, like traditional housewife. And it's a very big thing on social media. And for women who have like worked in conservative politics, and, you know, for me, like the past 20 years, I've sort of advocated on behalf of the coalition, it feels like a slap in the face that like the vice presidential nominee, like our only value is if we have children, completely negating, as, you know, Eleanor, you said earlier, that like, there's a lot of women with fertility issues. Some people just don't want children. Like, what about adoption? What about foster parents? Like, is the only way a woman is valuable in America if you give birth? I mean, and it just, I don't know, but I've had friends that like, my friends even that work at like Fox, like very upset at this. And I can't remember anything, including the grab them in the blank tape, that has had this kind of reaction in my just like anecdotal world. And I will say, like, the top 3 things that my friends that don't follow politics know about JD Vance is that he allegedly had sex with the couch, which I know isn't real, but there are just memes exploding all over the internet about it. I'm sorry, but that's what's happening.
I haven't heard that.
I haven't heard that either.
You've got classy friends. The AP had to come out and like say it's not a true story, but it is all over social media. And I'm sorry, everyone. I know this is a classy show, but this is what's happening in the world. That he thinks Diet Mountain Dew is racist, and that he thinks childless women should not have the same voting rights.
Is this a political version of Spinal Tap? I mean, that's crazy.
I'm not making that couch thing up. It's real. It's all over Twitter.
No, I'm talking about Mountain Dew being racist.
I didn't even understand the joke. And like, even like, I have friends who really, there are some conservative like MAGA women who are defending it and saying like, this has been taken out of context. But I always felt like the JD pick was like, I don't understand anyone who runs a campaign like they're not 10 points behind. And his choice was clearly, we're going to win, and we're going to win by 50, and it doesn't matter, and screw suburban moms. And before I knew all this, I thought it was a ridiculous choice. And now that it's neck and neck with Vice President Harris, it seems like I know you say vice presidents don't matter. I actually disagree because I have personal experience, and I also think that you like you say, do no harm, and he's doing a lot of damage. I mean, you have giant celebrities, and I don't think celebrities matter, but you're talking about a woman's pain of infertility being brought to the surface of a voting booth. That is wild, and I can't believe this is what we're talking about right now.
Megan, before we switch over to Eleanor to see what she wants to say about all this, how do you handicap the race currently? You think Trump is still the favorite, the heavy favorite?
I don't know anymore because I think there's a lot of, it's not just women. We have to give respect to men in our lives too. There's men that will not like this either. My understanding is there's even like a lot of conservative men who don't like this trad wife trend because it removes all agency from them. They don't want a wife that will like do more things than that. And by the way, it's fine if you want to be a trad wife. I just don't think the message that you have to be a trad wife to be a conservative is a winning one. So I don't know anymore. And that ad you showed of the new Vice President Harris ad, this may be meaningless, but that Beyoncé song, Freedom, is like one of the greatest songs ever made. It's off her Lemonade album. And it was about her breaking free from her relationship with Jay-Z after he had cheated on her. And it's a real anthem for even like women my age and like across the board. I think like in the pop culture realm, which whatever value you want to put on that, whatever, they're nailing it. Whomever's in charge of this is doing a very good job. And I think it's completely 50-50, but if they don't get JD Vance's ass in line, it's going to be way less, because if you've got secret conservative women this angry and upset, I think it could make an impact. That's
even before the Taylor Swift Beyonce duet right before her nomination speech. Eleanor, and then Alex, and then we're
I'm
going to
start feeling sorry for JD Vance. I mean, geez, he's hardly been out there. It's only been a few days. Anyway, back to Kamala and responding mainly to Alex. I mean, George McGovern's race was 50 years ago. San Francisco liberal, they pinned that on Geraldine Ferraro in 1984. I mean, the Republicans are going to have to come up with something a little bit more original. I mean, this stuff is so worn out. And I know they're going to explore her whole life. I'm sure Willie Brown, her former boyfriend, will come up.
I doubt that.
Against Donald Trump. I mean, I think these comparisons will fall aside, and she's taken progressive positions. She's also taken a lot of heat from progressives who feel that she was too tough a prosecutor in California. So, you put one side forward, you put another side forward. It will depend how she navigates all of this. But in the past, she hasn't demonstrated great skill at that. But she's been in the White House now for almost 4 years. I think she's learned some stuff, and so I have confidence that she's going to be able to navigate this landscape. She's not going to be perfect. No, nobody is. But the country was yearning for an alternative, and they don't expect somebody to be perfect either. Again, this is against Donald Trump. And she represents the America of tomorrow. And Trump, when you looked out at that convention hall in Milwaukee, those were mainly older white people. And I'm not disparaging them. I'm one of them myself. But we are not the future of this country. And Kamala represents the future. I think it's very exciting.
Thank you, Eleanor. Stay with us. Chime in anytime. Let's go to, is it pronounced Bry?
Brian, hi.
Brian. Okay, go ahead, Brian.
First of all, thanks for this. It's an amazing platform. I really enjoy these. Shout out to...
How'd you find out about it?
I've been a fan of yours, and so it came up on Twitter, and I checked it out. I'm going to start by saying, hi, Joe. Great show also. One of my favorite Republicans. And yeah, I think Eleanor's comments are exactly right on. I'm a 40-year-old gay dad, adoptive dad. In California. So my vote is irrelevant, but my perspective on the culture, I think, is very close to Megan's, even though I imagine my friend group is entirely on the other side of the political spectrum. It's all of this can be framed through the perspective of like, these guys are so creepy. Like if somebody was talking to your daughter, your wife, your partner, in this way or at work, and I think everybody has had some kind of experience like that. It's just like an ick factor with these guys, and I think that whether it's women's rights, gay rights, just any of this stuff that sort of feels like culturally retrograde is really, really problematic, especially with the way that Harris has been going so aggressively future past. With the messaging this week, it's been so great and so energizing. Everyone I know is emptying their bank accounts into this campaign with such relief and such joy to try and stop, to just get these people out of our lives. So,
Brian, let me ask you this: if the vice president asked you for a piece of advice about how to win the election, what would you tell her?
I would just say keep being loose. She seems like a real person. She seems like she's enjoying herself. The campaign is having it doesn't feel like a sort of tight, old, stuffy campaign targeted at a very sort of not only targeting a kind of white person in some place I've never heard of in Pennsylvania. I think they're going to get youth turnout like crazy. By the way, guys, culturally, young people skew incredibly Democratic and incredibly liberal and incredibly queer. Also, we're expanding in terms of a voting bloc. I think it's just about if this is a turnout election, keep doing what you're doing. Culture.
Brian, who's going to win?
I think she can win. I mean, I'm sure it'll be close. I'm sure it will be terrifyingly close. But I think she can win if they keep playing their hand like they're playing it.
Thank you, Brian. All right,
Thank
Katie. You. Katie and company. Unmute. Katie, tell the newcomers where you live.
Hey, we are in Louisiana. There's Hunter, and this is Pierce.
Hi, Pierce.
And our other two rascals are in the other room.
And Katie, who are you planning to vote for in the election?
Donald Trump, but I don't want to.
Yeah. And just talk more about why you're ambivalent and talk about the JD Vance thing, please.
Well, I've always been ambivalent. I have never liked him ever. But I voted for him because this guy's a financial advisor.
Pocketbook issues in this household.
Yeah.
And so it directly affects, I see a lot of the details of that, and then I'm always watching the market and stuff with him, and so that plays into that. But everything he just offends me at all times. I have to hold my breath, and but after the JD Vance stuff, I told him this morning that I think I could have to do an RFK just to not have to do that. Vote for Trump.
So we really want to know. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go. Go ahead.
We kind of just want to know what you thought. Is there any real possibility that he might drop JD and get somebody that was, tolerable for people that were voting for Trump that might not really like Trump?
Right. Okay. Well, let me answer that and then ask you and make a point. And thank you, three, for making time for us. So when it looked to me like Donald Trump could beat Joe Biden, I had people I knew who said, he can't possibly win because no one who voted for Biden in 20 is going to vote for Trump in 24. They said that doesn't exist. And then, of course, there were thousands of them. We all talked to thousands of them. Pete said earlier tonight, and I mean no disrespect to Pete, I have great affection for Pete and respect. Pete said there's no such thing as someone who was going to vote for Trump whose reaction to JD Vance comments was to say, well, now I'm not voting for Trump. And just to be clear, Katie, you're saying you're just such a person, potentially. You may switch your vote from Trump to Kennedy because of JD Vance, correct?
I mean, that was the way I felt this morning, because we watched the morning meeting every morning, and my 7-year-old, she was on the couch and she can read everything, and she was reading the title of the episode, and she wanted to know who Jennifer Aniston was, and so then that led to a whole discussion, and then she wanted to know what the meeting was about and what all of y'all were talking about this morning. So I told her, and the horror on her face, and it just echoed what I felt. And I was like, I can't do that. And she's like, but she said, we're women. And I said, yes, we are. And she was just offended, and it even furthered my offense. And
Hey,
Okay.
Mark. Hey,
I-
Mark.
go ahead,
can
Joe.
I just
Yeah.
chime in for a second? Only
Come on
because
in.
what Katie's saying, it reminds me of a story that my mom told me. My mom and dad, Republicans, always voted Republican. And my mom admitted to me, like, in like 1982, that she went into the voting booth in 1960 and told my dad, of course I'm voting for Nixon. I'm voting for Nixon, yes. And in 1982, she said to me, she goes, I voted for JFK. I never told your father. and it's so interesting hearing Katie right now, because I do wonder if there may be this may have an impact on swing voters. And by the way, a shift from Donald Trump to RFK, I mean, for Democrats, that's a plus up.
Yeah, it is. Katie, the answer to your question is, I don't think Trump will replace him because it'd be admitting a problem. But if Vance handles this poorly, and if Trump has any indication that this is hurting him, he'll think about it. I feel confident just knowing the psychology of Donald Trump. And if Harris picks a running mate, as I said before, who's well received, I think that'll amp up his consideration of it. But I don't think he'll do it. He'll be mad about it, but I won't think he did. Katie, I'd love for you to just enunciate, just explain in whatever terms you want, why the Vance thing bothers you so much.
Well, because I struggled to conceive our first child. And I think anytime that you want to touch on infertility, I think that's a dangerous area. And I think that's a very personal thing. It's a very hurtful thing. So many of my friends go through that. And aside the comment that really got me was the video where he, oh gosh, which one was I telling you?
This morning when there was a video about JD talking about that people that have kids, they should have more weight to their vote
Yes.
than people that don't. And
that one offended me more so than the childless cat lady. Like just the fact that whether or not you make the choice, like my brother and sister-in-law, they don't have children yet, and they may not, and they may not want to, and that's their choice. And their vote means just as much. They pay taxes. They are involved in every bit of this country. And I thought it was idiotic. It was just, and the fact that it was like, as Eleanor was saying, like on that platform with Tucker, that you're not going to be pushed hard on that platform if you're a Republican with Tucker, like if you're in that camp. And he knew what he wanted to say. Like if he had a list of talking points, he could have gotten them through. Yeah. And so I think that is just all in all offensive.
Katie, would you be in favor if we started a morning meeting for kids, like the kids edition? Would that be good? Yeah. Okay. Yes. And how did you find out about two-way?
Well, I was going to say, like, we have been watching you since you were on Morning Joe in 2016. I was still teaching then, and we would wake up super early to like be ready for work to be able to watch all of y'all analyze that. And then I've followed you. I've been on a couple of the focus groups, and I never miss an email or a meeting. Awesome. We're big fans.
Very grateful to you. Tell the kids to start practicing because they're going to be co-anchors of kids edition of the morning meeting when we're able to launch that. And so grateful for the three of you to spend time with us tonight, Katie, for you to share all that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right. Let's get some more folks in. I know I'll warn our affiliates we're going a little bit over tonight because I know we're going to. Let's get Sam in. Sam, go ahead. Mm-hmm. You're good, Sam. Go ahead.
Mark, good to see you again, and good to see everybody, and continue this fantastic platform for good conversation. I think that probably the best advice that I would give to Kamala would be don't nibble the bait, because there's going to be a lot of it out there. And the more that she can just take her own path and rise above it, I think the better off that she'll be. But again, do you or any of the other folks that are on this, do you have any knowledge or idea that Dean Phillips is not a possibility for the vice president position?
Lauren, what do you think?
I've never heard of him being on anyone's list. He has such low name recognition. He did not ingratiate himself to anyone with his pick. I mean, it's hard to keep it secret in Washington. There's been some really interesting reporting about Admiral McRaven, who was on nobody's list, but apparently was asked to be vetted. He's a former president of UT after his amazing service to the country in the military. He took himself out of the running, and that all got sorted through the Washington channels in about 3 hours. So if Dean Phillips is in the mix, I think for sure Mark would know, and probably maybe Joe and I too, even though, so I think that's no. I just wanted to say how much I loved having our friends from Louisiana on, and it's just the best thing about this platform. I got to say one thing. I love your comment too, Sam, about her being Kamala and staying away from the bait. I think that's actually exactly right. What I'm hearing as well from you, I mentioned on my last two-way last week about this, or on Tuesday, the call with 44,000 Black women, the Zoom call on Sunday that raised several $1 million. There is this sense among her supporters that it is their job to fight the bait so that she can rise above, which I think is really interesting because it is different than 2016 in that there is this sort of army of defenders ready to rise up. And the last thing I just wanted to say about Alex's point and also Megan's about the social media, if you're not paying attention to what's happening on, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram right now, you cannot know what's really going on in this campaign. The way in which the young people running social media for Kamala is epically, spectacularly good. And I think they are extremely prepared and are already taking whatever liabilities might be thrown at her, stuff that's come out of the Fox News, et cetera, about her cackle and the coconuts and the whole thing. Everything that's coming out for her, they are turning into extraordinary, social media memes, comedy, videos. TikTok is on point right now. So it is really different from 2008. It's really different from 2016. There is an army of defenders in all of the places that actually matter, which is social everywhere else.
Sam, thank you. Stephen, go ahead, please.
Yeah, a lot of good points, especially a lot of Alex's points. But the one thing that's driving me kind of nuts is the way that's the JD Vance thing is getting spun. I'm almost feeling like it's going to be the find people on both sides hoax, right? When you take things out of context. Because if you look, it's a classic stump speech that he gives to groups, and maybe he didn't in the Tucker interview, but on this other speech, which you can find on X, Twitter, whatever, he specifically says, there's people who won't have kids because maybe they can't find the right partner, or God forbid they have fertility issues, and he totally excludes all those people from what he's talking about.
Stephen, let me stop you. Where are you calling this from?
I found this on Twitter.
No, where do you live?
I live in Marin County.
Okay, and did you vote for Trump in 16 and 20?
Yeah, but did it matter?
No, I'm just asking. So that one clip is the clip that the campaign has put forward to try to refute or diffuse the situation. But the Tucker clip is different, right? He doesn't seem to exclude anybody.
I don't think well, I don't know what else he showed on the Tucker clip. It may be that he left that other part out, but it's part of a standard speech that he just believes that if you're going to run for office and you're going to think about the future, well, the future are the kids. That's what you're thinking about, right?
Right.
You're not running for yourself. You're running. For
when it was Stephen, when it was Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, were you pretty confident Trump was going to win?
Yeah, I mean, unless something else comes out. I mean, Access Hollywood didn't trip him up, so.
Right. So do you think that Harris has a better chance or worse chance than beating Trump than Joe Biden did? I
think they're about even. So I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out. I mean, you go back to the San Francisco Chronicle, and you can't. There's a lot of stuff when she was a prosecutor here that's can't really be hidden because it's already out there. Like where she.
Stephen,
she allowed
Sorry.
illegal aliens to clean their records so they wouldn't get deported. There's another clip out there of a young black man that she convicted of murder wrongly. So, I mean, all that stuff's not out yet. So,
Okay. Stephen, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Michael, unmute and go ahead, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I just want to go back to something I believe Lauren said about the social media strategy for Harris right now. I think I totally disagree. I think it's super cringe. I think it's reminiscent of the Hillary Clinton telling millennial voters to Pokemon Go to the polls, that type of this. You see this brat comments all over social media, the coconut nonsense. That is not doing her any favors.
Michael, let me just stop you just so we can orient. Are you a Trump supporter or a Harris supporter? Neither.
Trump supporter.
Trump supporter. Okay.
Yes.
So is it possible? Just I mean this with no disrespect. Is it possible that your preference for Trump is hindering your objective analysis of that content?
Perhaps I don't think so, Mark. I mean, I think it's aimed at people, millennials, my generation.
Yeah.
I don't.
Did you watch the video? Were you on at the very top when we
Video
played
was fantastic. Video.
All right, so that you think is good.
Her launch overall has been fantastic, but there have been some points, and I agree with Alex overall. I think she's peaked. I think this is it. I think the comments yesterday about she wasn't the border czar. I thought that whole discussion was bizarre. That of course she had a role in the border issue, and Democrats trying to avoid that, I thought was absolutely bizarre. And then I just pulled up the New York Times national poll that just came out. She is only winning 63% of the black vote, and she's winning 57% of the Hispanic vote as well.
If that's true, she'll win the election, because if she's tied and only winning 63% of the black vote, she's got a lot of room to grow there.
Okay.
Michael, thank you. I appreciate it.
Can I follow up on what one of the things? It's so interesting what Michael says, and also what we heard from the previous speaker about how her being a prosecutor is cutting both ways right now, because from the left you hear that she was too aggressive, from the right you hear that she wasn't aggressive enough. So, I mean, I think it's probably going to cut both ways. But as far as her ideology goes, it's really interesting what the statement that she put out today about the flag burning yesterday, because you're right, that's not something that she would naturally do. Yeah. And I also noticed, and I don't really go on X that much anymore, but I hopped on today and I saw Nancy Pelosi right as she condemned the flag burning in almost identical language. And it's really interesting on the question of, is this going to be the high water mark of her campaign? Well, if they're able to paint her as a San Francisco liberal, then yes. But it's really interesting what's happened to Nancy Pelosi over the past 4, 5, 6, 7 years, where she used to be seen as far left and a San Francisco liberal. And she's really moved and is really seen, I think, by a lot of people as more pragmatic.
San Francisco liberals hate flag burning. That's what we learned today.
Politically, well, we did learn that today. And again, it's the language. I'm just so fascinated by the language. And again, it's a language that I would use. Yep. I think it's a language that a lot of people here would use. But that's not the natural language of, let's say, Kamala Harris or people that supported Nancy Pelosi. To be that strident, and I use strident positively when you're talking about burning the American flag and spray painting Hamas like outside of Union Station, but to be that strident suggests that she's going to try to be agile and move more to the center, like I think Barack Obama did in 2008. So it's going to be fascinating to see if they're going to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, Michael, thank you very much. Joe, thank you, and Lauren and Eleanor and Sherry and Pete, everybody else who participated. Very grateful to you. You know, one of the things we have to balance here is how much time we spend in different configurations, different conversations. I hate ending the night with hands up. We're already well past 8, and I'm not going to try to do what I did last night, because I think we'll end up going another 20 minutes with all the hands up. So we'll continue to strike the balance as best we can. Very grateful to everybody for joining. 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern time tomorrow, back with the morning meeting. Whether you're in Louisiana or not, we'd love for you to join us for that. And we're working on a bunch of other stuff, which we're going to share with you soon. But grateful to everybody for participating. Tomorrow is another day. Same bad time, same bad channel for the morning meeting. This session, TBD for tomorrow. So stay tuned. Watch your inbox and watch on my Twitter feed. Have a great evening, everybody.